So, as you probably know, a brand new Star Fox game is coming out, and a lot of people are talking about one thing about this game: the characters. Now, I'm not going to be talking about the characters today. However, I do want to talk about the design of the Great Fox. When I think of Star Fox, I think of the Great Fox. It is such a big part of the brand and what Star Fox is to me. And I wanted to kind of go through all the different versions of the Great Fox throughout the years. So let's get started. What does he say? What does he say? Now, what is a better way to get started than by viewing the Star Fox 64 version of the Great Fox? This version, very N64. You see a lot of the classic parts of the N64, like this the stretch texture here. You see the very low resolution textures. It has a very low try count, having only 316 tries. But overall, it is a very good design. I mean, obviously it's iconic. Not that that's a very good descriptor, but it is you know, it has the details that it needs to have. It has these big jets on the back. It has these really cool X-shaped wings here. Yeah, overall just a very good design. It makes excellent use of the polygons that it has, and one of the most recognizable ships in gaming is right here. The next iteration of the Great Fox was used in Smash 64 in the Sector Z stage, and as you can see, very similar to the Star Fox 64 version. However, there are a slight few bit of differences here, mainly the fact that half of it is missing. Of course, in Smash 64, you're only seeing it from this angle, so it really has no reason to render the other half. It's a very good use of, making the most of what it has, um, and just being very optimized. It knows, the extent of what the player is going to see from the perspective that it gives you, and it runs with that. And I think that's really cool. It's very smart. The wing is kind of flat here, where it's super pointy in Star Fox 64 because characters are going to be walking on it and stuff. Let me see how many tries this one has. 227 tries. Okay, so a little bit less than the Star Fox 64 version, as it's missing its left half. Up next is from Super Smash Bros. Melee, is the Great Fox used in the Corneria and Venom stages. Now, this Great Fox is super cool because A, it has a super high poly count of over 4,000. Almost 10 times as much as these. Over 10 times as much as these. But also just super high quality textures here and a very faithful reinterpretation of the design that really doesn't do anything too unique. But I don't think that it should have, because it wanted to showcase, the advancement in graphics on the GameCube, and I think it does a wonderful job of that. It takes something that used to be super low poly, makes it super high poly, super detailed with these honestly almost high definition graphics, or high definition textures, excuse me. And yeah, it's really good design. I love the way that the text and the logo are kind of almost kind of peeling off just a tiny bit. It gives it that realism that I think Smash is known for. Coming up next is the Star Fox Adventures Great Fox, and I love this design. The whole idea for Star Fox Adventures was that the team is kind of washed up. They are past their prime, and I think this Great Fox very well reflects that. Super unique take on it. Very unique design. I adore this Great Fox. I think that it is really good. Um, and it has, a lot of the same design elements. It has the blasters here, it has the wings, it has the jets on the back. Um, but it's like it has like these lights here. I love the lights. I love how it's kind of like it looks like chunks of it are kind of taken out. Like it's just like it's environmental storytelling, and I love that. It's good environmental storytelling. Rare always gets a W. Next up, Star Fox Assault with one of the coolest looking Great Foxes. Oh my god. I don't think I've met a single person who did not like this Great Fox. It is so cool. I love the first off, can we just look at like how massive the wings are here? Can we talk about like just how anime it is? It's a good design. It's a really good design. As you can see with Adventures and Assault, the Star Fox logo is slightly different in the sense that it does not have the text accompanying it anymore. It is just the logo. However, there is some red text below the logo here, whereas in an Adventure, it was completely absent for whatever reason. Next up is a really weird Great Fox, and that is the Star Fox Command Great Fox. Because it looks fucking nothing like the previous ones, I don't know really what they were doing here. Maybe there's a lore reason for it. I should look into that. Still not a bad ship design. I actually quite like it. It reminds me a lot of the ships that you would see in like the SNES Star Fox games. So I like it for that. I was surprised that it was never a Smash stage because, I look at this and I'm like, that looks like, a Smash Bros. Stage. But, at the very least, it was actually a Smash Bros. Stage in Super Smash Flash, so we got something. But yeah, cool design. It at least has the same relative color scheme of red and white. If they wanted to make something completely different, I don't think this is bad. I think it's pretty good. Now, coming up next is a weird couple of Great Fox designs. This design right here is from the Lilac Crew stage in Smash Brawl, and this is the ship that flies around in the background of that stage. And as you can see, it has the same exact logo as the Star Fox Assault fin. However, the appearance is very close to the Super Smash Bros. Melee design for the Great Fox, with the only exception being that it has very different textures and it has the Star Fox Assault logo. And what's even more interesting is the fact that there is a Great Fox trophy in Super Smash Bros. Brawl that uses the Melee model with everything unchanged, besides the fact that they removed the green Star Fox text here, and they changed the logo to include the Star Fox text there. Very interesting decision. Next up is the Orbital Gate Assault model. So yeah, the Orbital Gate Assault model for the Great Fox is almost exactly the same as the Star Fox Assault model. That's right. This model has 12,490 tries. So let's look at how many tries that the original Star Fox Assault ship has. 12,191. So only 300 more tries, and I bet that they all went to stuff like adding a little platform here, closing this door, and probably a couple very, very minor things. Ultimately, this model is almost exactly the same as the Star Fox Assault model, which is crazy to me that not only does the Star Fox Assault model have over 12,000 tries, but it was high poly and detailed enough that they were able to reuse it in an HD game almost 10 years later. Very impressive work by Bandai Namco with Star Fox Assault. They really outdid themselves with this ship. It is super detailed, and yeah, was able to be reused again in a game several years later. So coming up next is Star Fox 64 3D. Like I said, this did technically come out before Smash 4. I just goofed and put them out of order. And as you can see, the design is kind of a mix between the older Star Fox 64 Great Fox design and the Assault design. As you can see, specifically, and actually that is one major difference between this and the original, is the fact that the wing has this like you can almost see like this little point coming out of it, this little antenna, that is not present in the Smash Bros. Version, probably because it was something you could walk on, and they probably, I'm guessing that's why it was removed. However, the Star Fox 64 3D version actually has a very, very similar fin to the Assault fin, and I think that's really fascinating that they pulled from that for this chip design. Overall, it's a decent reimagining of the ship from 64. I do appreciate that it's not just like a one-to-one like Corneria. They did try and do something a little bit unique here, try to like kind of reinvent it, and I think that's kind of cool. Star Fox Zero, of course, just reused the same design, but they made it very high definition. They modeled a lot of the texture work that was originally just made with textures. I will say I always wanted to like kind of run my finger across these this model because it just looks so like smooth and fun to like just feel. I will say I do prefer when the Great Fox is a bit more like kind of junky looking than when it's like this looks super clean and like pristine, and like that's cool, but like I kind of like it when it's like a little bit more like the Smash Ultimate model, which is our last model of today. And let me remove that really quickly. And yeah, as you can see here, it is once again a reincarnation of the original Star Fox 64 Great Fox model. However, it also is very, very, very inspired by its incarnation in Melee. Now, as you can see, they are very, very similar. However, this one has a lot more texture detail. As you can see, there's even a little door right next to the main cockpit, which I think is super cool. Love that little bit of detail. The engine's very, very, very similar to Melee's. Even like the back of the wings have like a similar design to Melee's, although it is a little bit more unique. Should also like, I didn't even look at the back of the wings. Yeah, very, very interesting. They're all so unique, and that's one thing I really like about this and what I've discovered is just like there's so many different models and they all have like their own things going on, and I don't know, it makes me excited to play any new Star Fox game because I like to see what the the ships are gonna look like, and the Great Fox especially is probably my favorite. Let's see how many tries the Smash Ultimate version of the Great Fox has, and it looks like it has 7,063 tries, which compared to the Super Smash Bros. Melee Great Fox, which only has 4,000 tries, that this Great Fox has only 3,000 more tries, which is crazy for how much more detailed it is. And I think a lot of it's just like a lot of the detail is texture detail. There's very little extra detail that is like we have some model detail here, and like they definitely smooth like this area out a little bit, but like yeah, super fucking optimized. It's kind of crazy. Like compare that, like it is, and it's funny because like the model on the GameCube model has 12,000 tries. It has almost double the amount of tries as the Smash Ultimate version. Just kind of crazy. Anyway, I think that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I will be inspired to make another video soon. Thanks, bye.